Today's episode of Hustle and Fish, we got a special guest, very special guest. We have the son of the legendary Fred Hall, Bart Hall.
Hi, Ralph.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
And his wife, Jenny. Stick around. You don't want to miss this. Hustle and Fish, let's go.
I always learn to fish. Always.
Bart, foremost, I just want you to know it's an honor to have you here today.
Thank
you. I'm humbled that you would reach out to me. It shows a lot of character on your behalf. I'm a small part of the fishing community, but you thought it was important enough to reach out, speak your feelings about last year's show. And we have a great lineup of good questions for you that I'm just curious about. But I do want to ask you about your thoughts on what did happen to last year's show. I know it was out of your hands and you felt really bad about it, but what can you tell us?
There was a dispute over whether there should be, the state canceled our 2020 show. So we did 2020 in Long Beach,
right? And
they canceled 2020 in Del Mar. And I was prepared to go ahead and do something in 2021. I made up a bunch of plans, floor plans for Long Beach and for Del Mar. Probably Long Beach would have been tougher because their rules were stricter on the health department. But Del Mar was certainly doable. I took 400,000 square feet and put it in 1.2 million square feet, all outdoors. It was great. The health department loved it. The fairgrounds loved it. We were all ready to go. And when I presented it to the senior partner at the shows at the time, they rejected that idea and said they didn't want to do it. And I said, well, that's fine. Then we have to give back the money for the deposits that we took in 2019. And there was a dispute about that. And at that point, I was fired. And all of the staff that produced the shows either were fired or let go or quit themselves. And so that's what happened. And then they went on to produce a show on their own, but it didn't happen. It never occurred. And so now we're back to do the Bart Hall shows in 2023, and we're really very excited about it. And by the way, you're not a small part of the fishing community. We're all part of the fishing community. The fishing community is the life of the fishing industry. It doesn't exist without the fishing community. Everything the fishing industry has is because the fishing community has asked for it and supported it and wants it. So we're all together. And that's the beauty of these shows. You come together in large numbers. Think about how we started fishing with our dads or with our brothers, or maybe on a six pack. Maybe there's 20 or 30 or 40 guys on a boat. All of a sudden you walk into the Long Beach Convention Center, there's 10,000 fishermen in the room with you, and you go, wow, this is awesome. So yeah, that's kind of the story there.
Okay, awesome. My way of thinking in life is I'm always looking to what's to come. The best is yet to come is one of my famous quotes. So people see the milestones that I've been crossing, and I'm just very optimistic. The best is yet to come, and I really believe that for the Fred Hall show. I'm not going to dwell on the past. I'm glad that you're here today. I feel honored. I feel special. Just to hear you say about the show made a lot of sense. Me walking into the first show back over 20 years ago, I was invited by a friend of mine, and just to walk in there, not knowing what to expect, and to see everything you love about fishing, including the people, it was a mind-blowing experience for me. Just to think back, like we were one of the first ones, because if you come early, you get in line, and my bros wanted to go early. So I'm like, why are we in line? And why are we early? Just not knowing better, And then, but just that doors open, you're one of the first ones in there. And then just seeing all the fishing tackle, all the boats. And you're right. It's something magical about having something that big with people that share the same interest and passion that you do. It's magical.
It is magical. Yeah, I get goosebumps here. You just talking about it. I mean, it is magical. It really reinforces everything we love about fishing.
Hey, can you tell them about Gleason?
Yes, yes.
On Saturday morning, in that line, the very first people in line is this group of guys, the Gleasons. They were twin brothers. One of them has passed away now, but the other one comes. Their children come, and this is the tradition they've had. They go there because it's their birthday and they buy something. But they heckle us. They heckle Bart. We know where you live. Let us in. Let us in. Let us in. And they wear funny hats that are made out of rubber or something. And
They have trouble.
And yeah, they have trout on them. Okay. Yeah. And they've been doing it for 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're great guys. I actually send them free tickets, and yet they still stand there and heckle me and yell, "Let us in, Bart. Let us in."
Well, good stuff. Thanks for sharing that. I love stories like that. Bart, I do want to ask you, what is the dream outcome for the Bart Hall Show from now to the future for you?
Well, to get back to where we were in 2020, because I think we'd achieved a lot up to that point, and then to see where it takes us from there. We're adding some new stuff to the shows this year. We're adding Overland experience, which we haven't. We had a little dabbling of it before, but we're going to get more serious about it. And we're just going to see where all of it takes us into the future. Some of the tackle companies and stuff, they think about marketing in different ways than they did 20 years ago. But I still believe in what we were talking about before. When people congregate together, it builds a community, and that community is what supports an industry. So our goal is to simply nurture that community, and I think we can help do that through our shows. I think that's the most important thing we do. I don't care what we sell there. I have nothing for sale, and I don't care what anybody sells there. I just care that people come, they celebrate their passion of fishing, as Mike Lum used to say. He coined the phrase, celebrate the passion. And when they do that, good things will happen. And that's all I'm trying to do, is create an environment where those good things can happen.
Didn't your dad call it the happening?
My dad used to call it the happening. Yeah. It was the happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I was in the construction field as an electrician, and I just remember all the trades. Come that Wednesday, you know, hey, we're leaving half day today. Everyone doing a half day, and we're all going straight to Fred Hall Show.
We always knew that was all trade day. That and Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay, I got another question for you. What was it like being the son of the legendary Fred Hall?
Intimidating. My father captured a room when you were. Oh yeah, when you were in the room with my dad, all attention was on Fred Hall. He was a very, very gregarious and likable guy. And I think my mother, on the other hand, was pretty tough, and she kept everything in line and made everything run properly. But he was very, very gregarious, loved people. People loved him, and he just knew how to throw a party, you know.
Was he as big as you?
He was a little shorter than me, but we're built about the same.
Oh, Bart Hall is 6'4", man. I'm 6 foot. This guy is a big dude here.
You know, when my children chose what his father was going to wear in his casket when he died, and that was a gold sports coat and red pants.
That was my dad.
Because
Really?
that's what he wore.
Yeah. Very,
Wow.
very, 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 very flamboyant guy. He was just he couldn't care less what you thought about him. He just did what he liked, and he loved people. So, and they loved him back. It was great. This was interesting. In the old days, there was no radio and TV to speak of. So what my father would do is he would go up to the Eastern Sierras, and he would make what he called the perfect camp on Rock Creek. And he took all the modern camping equipment, which wasn't what we would consider modern, but he set this all up, and he'd keep his drinks cold in the stream, and he'd invite all the sports writers over for come up and have dinner, and he'd cook them steaks outside, and they do this, and that was partly how he marketed the shows in the early days, and it's a fun time. I remember as a kid growing up through that and being there as part of that. I would just look up at these older guys, drinking whiskey and smoking cigars, thinking, I want to be that when I grow up.
Wow, man! Just hearing about him, man, makes me. I wish I could have met the man.
Well, these are the people from the greatest generation. This is the World War II generation, and these were all very special people. All of his friends were special people.
Wow.
There's another story. He told me this. I wasn't there. The Eastern Sierras. They're up there. They're out on Lake Crowley, parked in McGee Bay. It's quiet. There's no wind. They're just starting to fish early in the morning. Well, there was a movie, with Gordon McRae. What was that? Oklahoma. And he sung this.
And he gets up.
He sang the song called "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." Well, he was a friend of my dad, so all these stars were friends of my dad. So he's up there fishing with him, and he stands up and it's quiet, and he starts singing "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" to this whole lake. And when he was done, the whole lake explodes in applause and cheers. Yeah. My dad knew everybody in the industry in those days.
How did the Fred Hall show come about?
Well, in the end of World War II, my father, because of his football injuries, wasn't able to participate actively, but he taught theory of flight and navigation to the Army Air Corps at that time. And then toward the end, they let him go from that because that had all morphed into something else. And so he's back. He came back to town here, to Los Angeles, and he worked for a company called Crowd Management Incorporated. And what they did was provide ushers and ticket sellers and gatemen to all of the sporting events in Southern California. The Dodgers, the Rams, USC, UCLA, racetracks, Hollywood Park, Santa Anita.
Olympic
Auditorium where the wrestling was, and that's what they did. And so my dad, who grew up on the beaches of Miami as a fisherman, came to his boss one day. His boss was Mel Morrison, who ended up being my godfather. And he said, we should do something for sportsmen. What do you mean, sportsmen? He says, well, we should do a sportsman show. And the famous line was, what the hell's a sportsman show? And so my dad said, let me take care of it. And so he did. He started doing this, and they did the first one at Gilmore Stadium, which is where CBS is now. There was an oval dirt track with lights, on poles and stuff. And they did that, and then they moved across the parking lot to the Pan Pacific Auditorium. After that, they went to the Great Western Exhibit Center. From there, briefly to the LA Coliseum Sports Arena, and then to the Long Beach Convention Center and the Del Mar Fairgrounds. So that's the evolution.
Okay. So what was it like for you being the son behind the scenes? I kind of expressed my feeling how it was for the show. And how was it being the son of Fred Hall and just being there at every show?
Well, I was at every show as an infant on, and no matter what you were doing, as whatever job you had, I wasn't working for when I went to college. I'm playing ball, and I was also a musician too, and so we're doing all this stuff, and I ended up being a musician for like 20 years, not working with my father.
Oh, wow.
However, at showtime, the call would go out, hey, I need you at showtime. So everybody comes together at showtime, and you work the shows, and then you go back to your job, and it was a really wonderful life. And I remember working the trout pond for a long time. I loved working the trout pond. That was so great. I loved fishing the trout pond when I was a kid. So then I loved having helping other kids fish out there. So.
Yeah. When I think about the Hall show, I think about when my kids were born, because I started going before I had the kids, and then it just really became a way to spend time with them. They were, I had two girls. They were both little fishermen, little fishing girls, but it was just a great time to go to that pond, for them to be casting, and they love the show for the main reason is that they know that Dad's gonna spend money,
Yeah.
And they get to go pick shirts they like, pick up a pole at Turner's, and just it was a great family. It was a way to share my passion with my family. They didn't end up having the deep desire that I do, but it was still good times. And so, my whole goal with the Fred Hall show, now the Bart Hall show, like, it must live forever. And I'm sure if I'm feeling that, everyone's feeling that. And I really commend you, because when we were talking on the phone, I had no idea about your age. And I'm not going to say your age because you look really great. But when you told me, you're basically my dad's age. And I was like, man, this guy's out here still. You don't have to do this, but you want to do this. And I was like, at that age, as a businessman myself, I would think I'd want to relax and putting a show together. I know it was no walk in the park. So I really commend you for stepping up and being here for the fishing community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. Well, it's no walk in the park this year because we had to start basically from scratch. Jenny and I used to sit 50 years ago, and there was no computers, and we would do things on typewriters, and then we got a special typewriter that you put a button and it would type out a whole line for you.
One line.
Oh, that was a big step forward. But we've been back to doing that again. We have no records from the other shows. We have to build everything from scratch, and we've been able to successfully do that. Our contracts are just going out this week for the first time, and it's going to be
Old school.
really old school. We're handwriting everything,
I like that.
Yeah, it's just it's really been fun, and you're right. I do this because I love it. And my dad told me a long time ago. I had gotten this. I quit being a musician. I said, Dad, get me a job, and he got me a job in sport fishing as a rep, and I was making quite a bit of money, and I was really happy with my job. And he calls me one day and says, I need your help. I said, okay, what are you going to pay me? And he offered me 1/3 of what I was making. And there was a long silence. And he jumped in and said, you're not going to get rich, but you're going to have a great lifestyle. Wow. That makes me cry. He was right.
Wow.
He was right. The industry is reaching out to us, and people have helped us. Jenny and I, we lost everything to that other company that went under. Everything I had in the world was in that, and it's gone. And we don't own any property. But people have reached out to help us through this time, and the industry's, it's been so gratifying, Ralph. I kind of don't understand it, but it's been fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. I wanted to get back to something you were talking about earlier. He intentionally made these shows family friendly. He could have it could have been an old boys club. Oh, hunting and fishing, just come on down. He intentionally did things to bring the families in. He wanted children there. He wanted wives there. And sometimes, I remember one boat dealer was complaining to him about, what are you doing all this stuff for? Well, that's got nothing to do with this. And my dad said, when a guy comes here and he looks at your boat and he wants to buy it, he ain't buying it if his wife isn't with him. So one of the things I'm doing for you is I'm making sure his wife comes. And if the wife comes, the kids come. So the dad can do some things so they can all have fun together. And that's what we're doing here. We're building a community. He said that over and over and over again. That's what stuck with me.
Wow. And that's what it is. That's what it is. Wow.
That's why I don't care what's sold there. I only care the community has a good time.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question. Why is it so important to you that the Hall Show lives on?
Because, like we were just talking about, because it's such a part of the community. Some of the major corporations, companies now in fishing tackle don't get that. They're going to go, oh, we're doing our stuff online, or we're doing... I don't care what you do. I don't care. What I care about is that we celebrate the community and we celebrate the passion of fishing. And if we do that, it will continue on into the future. It's good for us as individuals. It's good for us as families. It's good for the community. And that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, I know you're only one man and you can't reach out to everybody like you reached out to me. But is there any words you would like to say to everybody who's helped the Fred Hall Show be such a success?
Well, I want to thank them all. Number one, we've always considered the shows to be a partnership with our exhibitors. That's why we do some things that other shows don't do. And sometimes exhibitors who are new to us are shocked by what we do. But my dad taught me a long time ago, we're partners. these people are our partners. We have to treat them right. And in turn, they'll treat you right. And that's what's been happening for all these years. We have a partnership with all of these people, and that's what's happening now. That partnership is coming back into play. Those people that we've been partners with are now being partners with us again. And it's a long, hard process, and there's been a lot of stuff that happened over the last 3 years that were very difficult. There's other things going on now that are really difficult. But the actual coming together of exhibitors and the Bart Hall shows is magical, and I'm glad I'm here to be a part of it and to watch it happen.
Yeah. I've been a vendor probably like for the last 4 years since 2020. And I did remember at the last show, we closed the doors and we had like a celebration real quick.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool. Like we all like, all right, the show's officially over. I think we hit like a record number of people that showed up. And then for like a minute, we all just clapped and cheered. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it really good when you see. I love our exhibitors. I mean, these are my friends, and matter of fact, Brad Styler, who's working with us now, used to be a rep in the business and one of my exhibitors. And Pat McDonald, who works with us, used to be the editor of Western Outdoor News for 35 years. And he's been my friend for forever, and Jim McComb, a friend of mine, a captain like you, out there fishing. And it's just, it's the people. All my friends are in this industry, so I mean, this is it.
Wow.
This is what I am.
I have to say something about the end of the show. Years ago, it could be 10 years ago or so. The show, he closes the show, and someone plays on some kind of recording on the road again, and they all are clapping and playing that music, and people are starting to pack up.
We need to bring that back this year.
You can.
Well, my friend Jack Nilsson, who used to own Accurate, who passed away 2 years ago, unfortunately, at too young an age, and I really miss you, Jack. One night in Del Mar, he left his lights on, the high intensity lights on in his booth, and one of the arms fell down onto a pile of T-shirts and set it on fire. And then the sprinklers came on.
Oh my God!
In the whole building.
Okay. So I'm back at the hotel, sitting around the fire pit with a couple of guys and having a cigar and a drink before going to bed, and they get a call. There's been a fire at the fairgrounds. You need to come back right away. So we spent all night cleaning up water and doing this and doing that, and that's what we used to. After that, I'd get on the thing at night and I go. And thank you for coming, and remember to be careful going home. And exhibitors, remember the Jack Nilsson rule. They had to turn their lights off.
Awesome. Yeah. Good times. Well, I got one final question.
Yeah.
What is your dream catch?
Oh, well, that's just easy. I mean, I'm obsessed with roosterfish. Want to see a picture of my 90-pounder?
Wow, yes I do.
I don't know if I can find. I can't find it that quick because I'm terrible with these.
Send it to me.
I will send it.
Send it to me, and we'll put it in the video.
I'll tell you what. When I started fishing these things, I was catching fish like that. I thought, well, that's how big they were. No, they get much bigger than that. Oh, okay. Then I got a 15-pounder, then a 20-pounder, then a 30, then a 35, and a 40. Oh, I got a 40-pounder. Oh no, they get bigger. They don't get bigger. All of a sudden, I got a 60-pounder, and then I was really into it. And this fish took the bait and it rolled. It looked like a sea serpent in the water. It wasn't much longer than a 60-pounder, but it was much fatter. And it was so much fun. And you release them all, they get them back in the ocean. That's what I love to catch is roosterfish.
I never knew they got that big.
Well, I didn't either when I started, but they're fun.
All right. Well, Bart, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Ralph.
Jenny, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. I'm going to see if I can find that picture.
We're going to get the picture for you guys and post it up. It's a wrap. Hustle and fish. Let's go.
I'm always going to fish. Always.